Scream strategically opened during Christmas in 1996 to the dismay of the cast and crew that felt it meant certain doom for their film. However, executives were privy to the highest test scores that they had ever seen and felt confident that they could triple their budget. After all, it was Christmas break, and no studio was planning to cater to teenagers who were also on winter break. Typically, the success of a movie is determined by its second weekend. Successful movies only drop 40%, and Scream faced stiff competition with Jerry Maguire, Beavis and Butthead Do America, One Fine Day, and Evita. It had opened at number 4 with only $6 million. But instead of a drop-off in its second weekend, Scream saw an increase by 40%. The film would make more than 10 times its budget, grossing $173 million, and also reviving a dormant horror genre while turning it upside down. While many things may be known about Scream, like Drew Barrymore dropping from the lead role to be killed in the opening act, or the original title being Scary Movie, here are 5 behind-the-scenes stories about Scream that you may never have,
or probably,
heard of.
Number 5. Scream filmed over 8 weeks, which included 26 straight night shoots. Having a primarily young cast, they often found themselves bored and in the need to unwind after shooting. This led to many offset shenanigans, including some that got them kicked out of their hotel on multiple occasions.
Oh!
Such as David Arquette buying a go-kart and racing down the halls of the hotel and then getting stuck. The cast would often jump the fence to go into the pool after hours. On one occasion, while driving around Santa Rosa, the cast came across several limos which they decided to follow to a prom party, which they crashed. Eventually, the cast found an old barn that they would go and party at to keep out of trouble. Number 4.
Hello?
Originally a one-act comedy play that Kevin Williamson wrote in college about a girl on the phone with a serial killer, it had been put aside in order for him to pursue an acting career. Having only been able to obtain minor roles, Kevin was the typical starving artist. Struggling to pay bills, he took on a job to house sit for a friend where he found himself enthralled in a story about the Gainesville Ripper on TV, which scared him. His terror was only added to after discovering a window open in one of the rooms that he could have sworn was previously shut. Kevin grabbed a knife and called his friend to find the courage to walk through the house to ensure that he was there alone and that he let his imagination get the best of him. His friend, meanwhile, poked fun at him, providing him with a soundtrack to his search by repeating the breathy After clearing the house, Kevin and his friend began to debate horror movies, which reminded him of the one-act play he had written. Soon after, Kevin locked himself away for 3 days and fleshed out a full screenplay around his one-act play and what he had experienced that night. This became the Casey Becker opening scene.
Number 3. Despite only having one person in mind, the search for a director had begun once the screenplay was sold. Wes Craven was their first choice, but he turned it down, having wanted to move on from the horror genre after directing Vampire in Brooklyn. This wasn't the first time Craven tried to exit the horror genre either. After The Last House on the Left, he attempted to move on, but came back to direct The Hills Have Eyes. At the time he was given the script to Scream, Craven felt that the genre had become cliched and misogynistic with the killing of women, something he really did not want to be a part of anymore, which was something that was exemplified in the opening act of the screenplay.
I passed on it was my usual stupidity. You know, I have this long, career-long ambivalence towards doing genre films. I think it was actually the opening section in the writing just the sort of tormenting of a girl for 15 minutes and then having her killed and disemboweled. And I just said, well, do I want to do this again? What's this going to do to my karma?
Others were approached, George A. Romero, Sam Raimi, but Craven began to reconsider after he learned that Drew Barrymore was cast as the lead. But it wasn't until he ran into a 12-year-old boy who told him that he was going soft.
You should do a real movie again, because you've been doing, your movies are getting softer and softer. And that just stuck with me, and look, you've been fighting this whole career, but the movies you've made that have really been important have crossed the boundaries of decency and are scary because they are ruthless. And I called up Bob Weinstein and said, if that job is still open, I'll take it.
Number 2.
The Ghostface mask we know today went through several designs. From witches and goblins to scary monsters. Nothing seemed to fit until one day producer Marianne Maddalena was scouting houses for the film. In one of the rooms hanging from a bedpost was the mask. She brought the mask to Wes Craven, who fell in love with it and sent it to the FX team to modify a version of it since they didn't own the rights to it.
They sell this costume every 5 and dime in the state. There's no way to track the purchase.
None of the concept masks looked quite right, and despite not having the rights to use the mask, Wes Craven decided one day to shoot with it, hoping that it would not end in a lawsuit and kill his career. Luckily for them, however, they were able to discover the designer of the mask and contacted him about the use of it for Scream. Alan Geller, vice president of Fun World, granted its use on 2 conditions.
Being just a simple country boy that I am, I said, okay, that's fine, just be sure that you, in the credits, say Ghostface, courtesy of Fun World Easter Unlimited, our parent company, and send $100.
Number 1. Despite being their primary choice as director for Scream, his personal doubts as well as the studio's crept up throughout the production. After Drew Barrymore stepped down from the lead role, Craven considered quitting just 5 weeks before filming was set to begin. However, after hearing reasons and ideas as to why, he saw the genius in it and knew that it would be something that audiences would not expect. Throughout production, disagreements occurred between him and the studio that nearly cost him his job. The studio thought the mask chosen was idiotic and asked for several versions of it to be made and test screened. One of the concept masks is even seen in the few scenes of the final cut of the movie. They didn't like the opening scene and felt it would not work. They felt that some of the footage was poor quality, which led to the firing of the original director of photography. Craven ended up working double shifts, which some of the experienced actors saw as a sign that he was on the cusp of being let go. During the day, he would be editing, cutting, and recutting footage already shot, and at night, he would be directing.
The world of Scream as we know it could be vastly different if it wasn't for that 12-year-old boy. Thank you. He should be getting a check somewhere.
That's what I said, right? I mean, this kid deserves a check because he saved Scream and he saved Wes Craven's career, I think. And these fucking production companies, honestly, like, why can't they just shut up and be the production company? Why do they feel like they need to get involved and be like, oh, we don't like the mask? First of all, the mask is awesome. It's Scream. That's it, right? And it looks like you're screaming. It's the Scream mask. End of story.
Well, if they did not find that mask, the other masks were god awful.
Right? Some of the options, like, are you kidding? Oh, a monster mask? Like, come on, people. This is not the 1980s, like some little kid movie that we're trying to scare people with. No.
It would have fallen into, most likely, one of those slashers in the 80s where it's like, oh, we have a great idea, let's just throw a mask on it. And the mask is like, and then nobody ever comes back for it.
And then they don't like the opening scene. Okay, you're second guessing Drew Barrymore, who literally was born into film. She's been acting since she was a baby. She comes from a long line of actors, producers, directors, writers. She knows what she's talking about. And yeah, it might have been a little like presumptuous. Well, I'm Drew Barrymore and they won't be expecting this. But she was right. She is Drew Barrymore, and why would you expect Drew Barrymore to bite it in the first 10 minutes?
Now, in case you're wondering, Fun World, $100, name in the credits, good for him. He has the copyright of the mask, so he still makes out in the end.
I feel like he should send the $100 back. I mean, he's made his money, right? And I just don't see what the whole point of the $100 was. That's like a weird
Unless the mask cost that
stipulation.
much back then. But that's a lot of money for a mask.
Well, I mean, masks do cost that much. You wouldn't think that mask would cost that much, but it was 1996, so I digress. Maybe it was $100. Maybe he was trying to get some of his money back for the mask. Maybe that's what that was about.
Hey, Fun World has released the image of the aged and cracked Ghostface mask that is coming out this fall.
Yeah, it looks pretty damn awesome.
So, did we miss any facts about Scream? Let us know by dropping those in the comments. What would you put in this list if you were making this list? And don't forget, it is our quest for 5,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there by
liking, subscribing, and sharing.
Yes. And it's a new year. So what we're going to do starting this month on every video going forward is every video that has 25 likes and 25 comments will win a prize. And then we'll keep it going for every 25 and 25 until we hit 100, and then we'll send out a special prize. Then, later on down the line, since you've contributed by adding a like and comment, you have a chance to win this box of Strawberries and Scream cereal signed by
Matthew Lillard and David Arquette.
Yes, one of a kind. Woo! So, don't forget to do any of that. If you've done it, thank you. We appreciate you, and thank you for stopping by for this episode of the Pop 5 on Scream Month. It's only a few weeks away.
It's a little more than a few weeks. He's very excited.
This comes out in February, so...
It comes out in March. Oh, you mean... Okay, never mind.
I was right. So, until the next Pop 5, see ya.